Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is NoZoupForYou with continuing coverage of this gigantic 0.6.0 patch and the complete and total realignment of Captain's skills. By now, you're probably knee-deep in trying to figure out what works best for you, and I'm going to try and help you with that because I have done a lot of testing. I've done a lot of changing around and resorting again. By doing that, I have come up with what I consider to be the winners and losers of the new skills. And the new skill tree, because some of these on here are old skills that have either gotten better or gotten worse. So with that being said, I now give you the boom or bust episode. I'm going to tell you what I think are the clear good choices and the bad choices. So without further ado, boom! Inertia fuse for HE shells. This is fast becoming my absolute favorite new skill. Yes, it costs 4 skill points, but this breathes life, in my opinion, into cruisers that you might have neglected before, even destroyers. And I'm not gonna lie, this can be used on battleships as well. Yes, think German battleships and think secondaries. While it might not be a conventional pick at level 4, because there's some very important stuff there, I would highly consider taking this on your battleships. It is a must grab for Russian cruisers. I absolutely love this skill on my Chapayev. It turns it into a destroyer melting machine. So, this is a new skill for this entire tree rearrangement, and it is an awesome skill. I'm going to tell you right now, on a lot of cruisers, I don't even use AP anymore. I'll use AP against other cruisers, but against battleships, I find I am doing much more damage with inertia fuse for HE shells than I was with AP. I'm dealing 5,000 and 6,000 damage in the Chapayev against tier 8 battleships. Hard to do with AP shells. Now, you might think you're going to lose your chance of fire. And a lot of people have a tendency to try and offset that by taking Demo Expert. Don't do that. If you're in a cruiser, Russian cruiser, or something similar to that, even your battleships, you still have a high chance of fire. That minus 3% chance of fire is not that big a hit, especially when you're dealing with over 20% chance of setting fire. So, that is a definite boom right there, your inertia fuse for HE shells. Another boom is Adrenaline Rush. If you haven't used Adrenaline Rush, really consider putting it on your builds, especially on your battleship builds. Again, dealing with battleships here. A lot of changes, and I've been trying to figure out ways to make them better, to improve them. Think secondaries once again. As you start losing your hit points, this 0.2% reload time for every 1% loss of HP makes your secondaries fire at an insane rate. Also, it works equally good on cruisers. Again, once you get into the lower half of your hit points, you're going to be able to start reloading ever so much quicker, so it makes an absolute huge difference. This, in my opinion, is another great skill to have, and I would seriously consider trying to work that in some way if you haven't already. And again, it's only 2 skill points, so in my opinion, that's a bargain. Another boom. Concealment. And the reason concealment is a boom right now is it's only 4 points instead of the 5 points that it used to be. This gives almost everybody the ability to pick it up. In a way, it equalizes things because it's so easy to get now. But again, that helps everyone out, especially destroyers where it's very, very vital and important to have that concealment. So that's a boom right there. Last boom. And this might be a little controversial, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Expert Loader is a boom. Yes, it's still 1 skill point. Yes, it still does the exact same thing. But because of what Tier 1 is now, because of the 1-point skills, and just kind of a general lack of good skills for anything other than aircraft carriers, I think a lot of people are going to take a second look at Expert Loader. I know I am. And little hint right here, guys, if you've got Steven Segal, With Expert Loader on battleships, you're going to be switching from AP to HE in under 10 seconds. Try putting that on a Montana just for size. So there you have it, guys. In my opinion, those are my booms of the new skill tree. And again, that's Inertia Fuse for HE shells, that's Adrenaline Rush, Concealment, and Expert Loader. Now let's talk about the absolute busts. In my opinion, the entire 1-point skill tier is a bust. Now yes, I did mention Expert Loader, trying to find something good out of it, but by and large, and I know a lot of people have put this through as a complaint, the skills found at tier 1 are just absolutely not appealing whatsoever. Really, I take Expert Loader because for a cruiser or a destroyer or a battleship, there's just nothing else to take. Granted, Priority Target has found use by other people. I'll take Preventative Maintenance occasionally because that negative 30% chance of the risk of incapacitation is good when you're dealing with ships with brittle guns, but by and large, I am not that pleased with this tier, and I'd much rather see something like High Alert make it down to that level. That brings me to another bust, repair skills. Things like High Alert, things like Basics of Survivability, your 2 and 3 point skills that used to be those cookie cutter skills that you could put on every single ship. It's kind of hard to put them in your builds now. You've got to pass them up for other things that in my opinion are a lot more important, like Superintendent or Demo Expert or Basic Firing Training. So in my opinion, these repair skills took a huge hit with this update. Another bust in my opinion is Demo Expert. And again, that's because it took a hit to its viability. You only have a 2% chance now to increase your chance of fire. In my opinion, that's kind of a nerf right there, and at 3 points, I don't know that I'm really going to take it anymore. And again, I told you earlier that a lot of people are taking Demo Expert, and then they're turning right around and taking Inertia Fuse for HE shells to kind of offset each other. I played around with it, and I really don't think doing that is a wise move. You're much better off taking Superintendent or Basic Firing Training instead of Demo Expert and just dealing with that minus 3% hit that you take from the Inertia Fuses. So again, don't offset. Finally, the last major bust. And again, I'm going to give you one that's kind of controversial, but in my opinion, radio position finding is a bust. The reason why it's a bust is it created a large amount of commotion. And guess what, guys? It just isn't that big of a deal. I know a lot of you have probably found that out by now, but in the 30 or 40 games or so that I've played since this patch has come out, at this time, I've only been pinged by it maybe 3 times. That's it. It just did not have the giant game-breaking, game-changing effect that everybody thought it was going to have. It just hasn't. Yes, there are isolated incidents when it has proven to be extremely powerful. I fell prey to one of those moments. I was the last ship and someone on the other team had it. And guess what? They were able to find me pretty quickly. But by and large, in my opinion, it's somewhat of a non-factor. And especially at this tier level, 4 points, I'd much rather take Concealment. I'd much rather take Advanced Firing Training. I'd much rather take Manual Fire Control. And I'd much rather take Inertia Fuse for HE shells. Oh, and another one, I'd much rather take Fire Prevention. So out of all the skills at the 4-point skill level, really, for me at least, radio position finding is at the very bottom of things that interest me or that I feel I need to take that are going to help me destroy the enemy. So that, in my opinion, is a definite bust. Anyhow, guys, there you have it. I hope I gave you some ideas on how you can use these new and old skills, but those, in my opinion, are the booms and the busts of this new Captain Skill realignment. Take this knowledge, do what you can with it, and if you've got any hints or tips for me, please, by all means, leave them in the comments. Let me know what you think works and what you think are the definite booms or busts. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I hope to see you all out there. I am out.